I sat in Dr. Martinez's office, staring at the lab results in my trembling hands. The fluorescent lights hummed above me, and I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. "Thallium?" I whispered, looking up at the doctor. "How is that even possible?" Dr. Martinez leaned forward, her expression grave. "Mrs. Blackwell, thallium is a heavy metal. It's used in certain industrial applications, but it's also—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "It's also been used as a poison. The levels in your blood are dangerously high. If we hadn't caught this now, you would have had maybe 3-4 months at most." The room seemed to tilt. 3 months. I was 70 years old, sure, but I'd been healthy, active. I ran my boutique hotel business, went to yoga twice a week, had coffee with friends every Thursday. How could I be dying? "I don't understand," I said, my voice breaking. "Where would I even come into contact with thallium?" "That's what concerns me, Catherine." Dr. Martinez had been my doctor for 15 years, and I'd never seen her look this worried. "Thallium poisoning doesn't just happen. Someone has been exposing you to this. Deliberately." The word hung in the air between us like a knife. Deliberately. Someone was poisoning me. Someone wanted me dead. My mind raced through the impossibly short list of people who had access to my food, my drinks, my daily routine. After my husband David died from what we thought was a stroke 18 months ago, his son Marcus had moved in with me. "Just temporarily, Catherine," he'd said with that charming smile of his. "Just until I get back on my feet." Marcus. My stepson. The man who cooked my meals, made my morning protein shakes, reminded me to take my vitamins. The man everyone in my neighborhood praised as such a devoted son. Could it be him? Let me back up. I need to tell you how I got here. My name is Catherine Blackwell, and I built Blackwell Boutique Hotels from the ground up. 3 properties in Connecticut, each one a restored historical building turned into luxury accommodations. I started the business 30 years ago with money I'd saved working as a hotel manager, and I'd grown it into something successful, something I was proud of. I met David Blackwell 12 years ago at a hotel industry conference. He was a widower, 15 years older than me, with a grown son from his first marriage. We fell in love quickly, married within a year. It wasn't a fairy tale romance, but it was comfortable, safe. David understood the hotel business, supported my work, and we had a good life together. Marcus had always been polite. When David was alive, Marcus would visit maybe once every few months, usually when he needed money. He'd had a string of failed businesses, bad investments, what David called expensive hobbies, but David always bailed him out. "He's my son," David would say, writing another check. When David died so suddenly, I was devastated. One moment he was fine, the next he was on the floor, unconscious. The paramedics said it was a massive stroke. He was 77, had high blood pressure despite medication. "These things happen," they told me. At the funeral, Marcus had been surprisingly attentive. He helped me with the arrangements, dealt with the lawyers, moved in temporarily to keep me company. "You shouldn't be alone right now, Catherine," he'd said. And I'd been grateful, truly grateful. That was 18 months ago. Marcus was still living with me. And now, apparently, he'd been poisoning me. The symptoms had started about 6 months after David's death. At first, I thought it was just grief. The exhaustion, the headaches, the nausea. I'd lost my husband. It made sense that I wasn't feeling well. Then came the hair loss, the tremors in my hands, the burning sensation in my feet. Stress, my previous doctor had said. Perhaps some vitamin deficiencies. Let's try some supplements. Marcus had been so helpful. He'd picked up my prescriptions, bought expensive vitamins, started making me protein shakes every morning. "You need to keep your strength up, Catherine," he'd say, handing me the thick, chocolate-flavored drink. "You're not getting any younger." I'd drink it, grateful for his care. God, I'd been such a fool. "Catherine?" Dr. Martinez's voice brought me back to the present. "I need to ask you some difficult questions. Who prepares your food? Who has access to your home?" "My stepson," I heard myself say. "Marcus. He's been living with me since my husband passed. He cooks most of my meals. I felt sick. He makes me a protein shake every morning." Dr. Martinez nodded slowly, as if she'd suspected as much. "I'm going to recommend you don't eat or drink anything he prepares. In fact, I think you should consider staying somewhere else while we figure this out." "I can't just leave my own home," I protested, "and I can't accuse him without proof. What if I'm wrong? What if there's some other explanation?" But even as I said it, pieces were falling into place. The way Marcus had seemed so concerned about my health, always asking how I felt, taking note of my symptoms. The way he'd discouraged me from seeing specialists, saying I was just overreacting. The way he'd been so insistent on preparing my meals himself, saying I needed to rest. I worked too hard. And then there was the will. About 3 months ago, Marcus had brought up my estate planning. "Just being practical, Catherine," he'd said. "After what happened to Dad, we should make sure your affairs are in order." He'd even recommended a lawyer, driven me to the appointment. I'd updated my will to leave everything to Marcus, David's son, the only family I had left. It had seemed like the right thing to do at the time. "Dr. Martinez," I said slowly, "if someone were poisoning me with this thallium, how long would it take to kill me? At the levels you've been exposed to?" 6 months, maybe less. It's a slow poison. The symptoms mimic other conditions, which makes it hard to detect. That's why it's been used in murders before. 6 months. I'd been sick for almost exactly 6 months. "What should I do?" I whispered. "First, we treat you. Chelation therapy can help remove the thallium from your system. But Catherine," Dr. Martinez's voice was firm, "you need to go to the police. If someone is trying to kill you, they won't stop just because you caught on." I left the doctor's office in a daze. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely start my car. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, trying to think clearly. I couldn't go to the police yet, not without proof. Marcus would deny everything, and what did I have? A doctor's suspicion? That wouldn't be enough. He'd say I was getting senile, paranoid, that I was making wild accusations. He might even have me declared incompetent, take control of my assets. No, I needed evidence first. I called my oldest friend, Patricia. We'd known each other for 40 years, since we were both young hotel managers trying to break into a male-dominated industry. If there was anyone I could trust, it was her. "Patricia," I said when she answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need your help. Can you meet me somewhere? Somewhere Marcus won't see us." An hour later, I was sitting in Patricia's car in the parking lot of a Target 2 towns over, telling her everything. "Jesus Christ, Catherine," Patricia breathed when I finished. "We need to call the police right now." "And tell them what? That my stepson is maybe poisoning me? With what proof? He'll say I'm confused, that I'm grieving, that I'm old and paranoid. Patricia, I need evidence." Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Security cameras." "What?" "Install hidden security cameras in your house. In the kitchen, especially. If he's putting something in your food, you'll catch him on camera." "I don't know how to do that," I admitted. "I do. My daughter had to install nanny cams when she hired a babysitter. There are these tiny cameras you can hide anywhere. They connect to your phone. You can watch the footage from wherever you are." That night, while Marcus was out at what he said was a job interview, Patricia came over. We installed 3 small cameras, one hidden in the kitchen cabinet facing the counter where Marcus prepared food, one in the pantry where he kept his special protein powder for my shakes, and one in the living room facing the cabinet where I kept my medications. "Be careful," Patricia warned me before she left. "If he's desperate enough to kill you, he might do something drastic if he realizes, you know." I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my bed, listening to Marcus moving around in the guest room down the hall, and wondered if I was sharing my home with a murderer. The next morning, I forced myself to act normal. Marcus came into my bedroom at 7, like he did every morning, carrying a tray with my protein shake and vitamins. "Good morning, Catherine," he said with that smile I'd once found comforting. "How are you feeling today?" "A bit better, actually," I lied. "I think those new vitamins you got me are helping." "That's wonderful. Make sure you drink all of your shake. You need the protein." I took the glass from him, my stomach churning. I waited until he left the room, then poured the thick brown liquid down the bathroom sink, just like I'd been doing since yesterday. I'd told Dr. Martinez I'd stop consuming anything Marcus prepared, and I meant it. But I needed him to think everything was normal. For 3 days, I watched the camera footage on my phone, hiding in my car during lunch breaks from the hotel, reviewing hours of mundane kitchen activity. Marcus making coffee, Marcus cooking chicken, Marcus doing dishes. Nothing suspicious. I started to doubt myself. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe the thallium came from somewhere else. Maybe Marcus really was just a devoted stepson trying to help. Then, on the fourth day, I saw it. I was sitting in my office at the hotel, reviewing the morning's footage, when I saw Marcus enter the kitchen at 6:45 a.m. He took out the blender for my protein shake, added the usual ingredients: protein powder, banana, almond milk, cocoa powder. Then he glanced around, even though he thought he was alone in the house. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small plastic bag containing white powder. My heart stopped. He carefully measured out a small amount, maybe a quarter teaspoon, and stirred it into the shake. Then he put the bag back in his pocket, blended the shake, and poured it into my usual glass. I watched as he tasted it, making sure it was mixed properly, then added a little more cocoa powder to disguise any taste. I had to replay the footage 3 times before I could believe what I was seeing. This was real. This was evidence. My stepson was poisoning me. But I needed more. I needed to know where he was getting the poison, and why. So I waited. That afternoon, while Marcus was out, I searched his room. I felt guilty going through his things, even though he was literally trying to kill me. Old habits die hard. I found the bag of white powder hidden in a sock drawer. Next to it was a receipt from a chemical supply company, thallium sulfate, purchased 3 months ago. But that wasn't the worst of it. I found a notebook. At first, I thought it was a journal, but as I flipped through it, I realized it was something much more sinister. It was a log. Dates, amounts, symptoms. January 15, increased dose to 20 milligrams. Subject complained of headache and nausea. February 3, hair loss beginning. Decreased dose slightly to avoid suspicion. March 10, subject falling regularly. Excellent progress. Subject. He called me subject, like I was some kind of experiment. And then I found the page that made everything click into place. It was dated 2 years ago, before David died. Father's symptoms progressing well. Stroke imminent. Insurance policy will pay out $500,000. Mother-in-law's hotel's worth estimated $8 million. Must wait appropriate mourning period before beginning treatment. Treatment. He'd called poisoning me treatment. David hadn't died of natural causes. Marcus had killed him. Killed his own father. And I was next. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the notebook. I took photos of every page with my phone, put everything back exactly where I'd found it, and left the room. I couldn't stay in that house another night. I couldn't pretend everything was normal. But I also couldn't let Marcus know I was on to him. I called Patricia from my car. "He killed David," I said without preamble. "I found proof. He's been planning this for 2 years. Patricia, he murdered his own father for insurance money, and now he's killing me for the hotels. Catherine, you need to go to the police right now. Right this second." "I'm going. I needed to tell someone, in case something happens to me." "Nothing is going to happen to you. Go to the police. Now." The police station was in downtown Hartford, a 20-minute drive from my house. I walked in with my phone full of evidence, the notebook photos, the camera footage, all of it. The detective who took my statement was a woman in her 40s named Sarah Chen. She listened to my story without interrupting, watched the camera footage, looked through the notebook photos. "Mrs. Blackwell," she said when I finished, "this is extremely serious. Attempted murder, and possibly a prior murder as well. We'll need to test that powder. Verify that it's actually thallium. We'll need to bring your stepson in for questioning." "What do I do in the meantime?" I asked. "I can't go home. What if he knows I know? Do you have somewhere safe you can stay?" I thought of Patricia's guest room. "Yes. Go there. Don't contact your stepson. Don't tell him anything. We'll handle this." But it wasn't that simple. Nothing ever is. The next morning, Marcus called me 17 times. When I finally answered, I was at Patricia's house, and Detective Chen was there with me, listening on speakerphone. "Catherine, where are you? I woke up and you were gone." "I'm worried about you." The concern in his voice was so convincing. If I didn't know better, I would have believed he cared. I'm at Patricia's, I said, trying to sound casual. I wasn't feeling well last night, and I didn't want to bother you. You should have woken me. I would have taken you to the hospital. Are you okay? I'm fine. Patricia's taking good care of me. When are you coming home? Soon. I just need a day or two to rest. There was a pause. Then Marcus said, Catherine, is something wrong? You sound strange. I'm just tired, Marcus. I'll call you later. I hung up before he could say anything else. Detective Chen nodded approvingly. Good. We've got a warrant to search your home. We'll execute it this afternoon, and we'll bring him in for questioning. Will he be arrested? If the evidence holds up, yes. But these things take time, Catherine. We need to be thorough. The next few hours were a blur. Detective Chen and her team searched my house while Marcus was asked to come to the station to answer a few questions. They found the thallium in his room, exactly where I'd seen it. They also found something I hadn't noticed. A life insurance policy on me that Marcus had apparently convinced me to sign 3 months ago. I had no memory of it, but there was my signature. $5 million, with Marcus as the sole beneficiary. They arrested him that evening. Attempted murder. And based on my testimony about David's symptoms matching mine, they were reopening the investigation into my husband's death. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought I could finally breathe. But then Marcus's lawyer showed up at Patricia's house. Mrs. Blackwell, he said. All expensive suit and practice sympathy. My client has asked me to speak with you. He's very concerned about these accusations. He believes you may be suffering from some kind of mental decline, perhaps early dementia, the stress of losing your husband, your age. I'm not senile, I interrupted. And I have proof. Camera footage, a notebook in his own handwriting documenting how he poisoned me, how he poisoned my husband. The lawyer's expression didn't change, proof that could be interpreted in many ways. My client maintains that he was simply tracking your symptoms to help your doctors, that the substance in his room was a supplement he ordered for himself, that you've been increasingly confused and paranoid since your husband's passing. There's video of him putting poison in my food. There's video of him preparing your protein shake, which he's done every morning for over a year, as a devoted son caring for his stepmother. I realized then what Marcus was going to do. He was going to claim I was incompetent, that I was making false accusations because of mental decline, that I needed to be placed under a conservatorship, with him controlling my assets. Get out, I said quietly, and tell your client that I'm not as easy to kill as he thinks. The trial took 8 months. 8 months of Marcus's lawyers painting me as a confused, grieving widow who'd become paranoid and delusional. 8 months of them claiming the notebook was just medical notes, that the thallium was a supplement mix-up, that the camera footage showed nothing criminal. But we had one thing they couldn't explain away. I insisted on exhuming David's body. At first, the prosecutors didn't want to. It had been 2 years, they said. The body would be too decomposed. But I pushed until they agreed. And when they tested David's remains, they found it, thallium. Levels consistent with chronic poisoning over several months. Marcus had killed his father. There was no denying it now. The defense crumbled. Faced with evidence of 1 murder and 1 attempted murder, Marcus's lawyers tried to plea bargain, but I wouldn't allow it. I testified at the trial. I showed them the videos. I explained every symptom, every moment. I'd trusted him while he was killing me. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Murder in the first degree for David's death. Attempted murder for mine. At sentencing, the judge gave him 45 years to life. I was in the courtroom when they read the verdict. I looked at Marcus, this man I'd welcomed into my home, and I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just a vast emptiness where trust used to be. After it was over, Detective Chen found me in the hallway. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I'm alive," I said. "That's more than I expected 6 months ago. For what it's worth, you did everything right. The cameras, the documentation, not confronting him directly. A lot of people in your situation don't survive to see justice." I nodded. "Can I ask you something? Why did he do it? I know about the money, but he killed his own father. His father who'd always helped him, always bailed him out. Why?" Detective Chen sighed. We found records of gambling debts. Marcus owed over $300,000 to some very dangerous people. He needed money fast, and you and your husband were the easiest targets. As for why he could do it, she shrugged. Some people just don't have the same emotional wiring as the rest of us. To him, you weren't people. You were obstacles, assets, a means to an end. That night, I went home to my house for the first time in months. Patricia had offered to come with me, but I needed to do this alone. The house felt different, smaller somehow. I walked through the rooms, remembering all the moments I'd felt safe here, and realized that safety had been an illusion. I went into the kitchen, stood at the counter where Marcus had prepared so many poisoned meals, and I made myself a cup of tea, just regular tea, nothing added. I sat at my kitchen table and drank it, tasting freedom. It's been 6 months since the trial ended. The chelation therapy worked, the thallium is gone from my system, my hair grew back. The tremors stopped. I'm healthy again, healthier than I've been in years. I sold the house. I couldn't live there anymore, not with all those memories. I bought a condo in a high-rise with 24-hour security where I can see anyone coming. I changed my will. Everything goes to charity now, to organizations that help victims of elder abuse. I set up a foundation in David's name to raise awareness about financial exploitation of seniors. And I kept the hotels. I'm still running Blackwell Boutique Hotels, still going to work every day, still building something I'm proud of. People ask me sometimes if I'm angry, if I hate Marcus for what he did. The truth is, I don't think about Marcus much anymore. He's in prison, where he belongs, and I'm here, living my life. But I'll tell you what I learned from all of this. I learned that trust, real trust, is precious and rare. I learned that being kind doesn't mean being naive. I learned that when something feels wrong, it probably is, and you should listen to that instinct. Most importantly, I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. At 70 years old, when someone tried to kill me, I didn't just roll over and die. I fought back. I gathered evidence. I got justice. I survived. And I plan to keep surviving for a very, very long time. If you're reading this, if you're in a situation where something doesn't feel right, where someone who claims to care about you is making you feel worse instead of better, please listen to that voice in your head. Trust your gut. Ask for help. Gather evidence. Don't be afraid to protect yourself, even from family, because sometimes the people who are supposed to love us are the most dangerous of all. My name is Catherine Blackwell. I'm 71 years old. I'm a businesswoman, a survivor, and I'm finally, truly free.